again, and then I'll have to edit and put these two together again. So
Right.
it's good to have another Rabbi Layman who can continue the class. So I wanted to get to the other, what?
I said they caught me a little unprepared, but I was able to recover after.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. What I wanted to point out is what my father was just about to get into, this midrash about who Osnat was. So one idea was that she converted to Judaism. The other idea is no, there's a more convoluted story. And if you remember the book by Anita Diamant called The Red Tent that came out a number of years ago, near the end of the story, the Red Tent is the connection, like the last part of the book is the connection to this part of the story right here. So according to the Midrash, okay, so here what sometimes Midrash is meant to teach Jewish law. So such a Midrash would be, don't think that Joseph married a non-Israelite. No, Osnat converted, and it was an acceptable marriage. So that's kind of a legalistic kind of interpretation, that kind of Midrash. Another Midrash would be to teach legends, to teach morals and ethics through story. And sometimes the rabbis will do that in a way to kind of connect the dots in a story in which there are some holes. So back in Genesis, a few portions, in the portion Vayishlach, we have, after Jacob and Esau have that reunion, then Jacob and his family resettle in the land of Israel. And then there's a whole story of the rape of Dinah and how the inhabitants of Shechem want to intermarry with Jacob and his family. And they agree as long as the male citizens of Shechem agree to circumcise themselves, and Shimon and Levi then decide to lead the brothers in an attack and kill all the male inhabitants of Shechem while they are recuperating and incapacitated after the circumcision. So Dinah is raped. Nothing else is said about Dinah ever again in the Torah, but it might lead the reader to wonder what happened to Dinah and did she ever give birth to a child? So the rabbis say that Dinah gave birth to a girl. They ended up down in Egypt. Dinah became a midwife, and the daughter then, let me share my screen, and you'll see I have this from the Jewish Women's Archive, has it here, has the story of Osnat the convert, Osnat the daughter of Dinah. The traditions that trace Osnat to the family of Jacob relate that she was the daughter born to Dinah following her rape by Shechem, son of Hamor. Jacob's sons wanted to kill the infant, lest it be said that there was a harlotry in the tents of Jacob. Jacob brought a gold plate and wrote God's name on it. According to another tradition, he wrote on it the episode with Shechem. Jacob hung the plate around Osnat's neck and sent her away. God dispatched the angel Michael to bring her to the house of Potiphar in Egypt. According to yet another tradition, Dinah left Osnat on the wall of Egypt. That day, Potiphar went out for a walk near the wall with his young men, and he heard the infants crying. When they brought the baby to him, he saw the plate and the record of the episode. Potiphar told his servants, "This girl is a daughter of great ones." He brought her to his home, gave her a wet nurse. Potiphar's wife was barren, and she raised Osnat as her own daughter. Consequently, she was called Osnat, daughter of Potiphar, for she was raised in the home of Potiphar and his wife as if she were their own daughter. This narrative teaches that all is foreseen by God. Each of Jacob's sons was born together with his future spouse, except for Joseph, who was not born together with his mate, since Osnat, daughter of Dinah, was fit to be his wife. God directed matters so that Joseph would find a wife when he went down to Egypt, and Osnat was suitable for him. So Joseph then ends up marrying his niece, not knowing that it's his niece. And lest you think that a man marrying his niece doesn't sound right, that it's a forbidden marriage. The Torah does not forbid that. The Torah forbids an aunt marrying her nephew, but it doesn't forbid an uncle marrying a niece. And in fact, Maimonides suggests that's the best kind of marriage, an uncle marrying a niece. Let alone, well, so let's just not think about just the family intricacies there and the age differences, but there might not have been that much of an age difference because Joseph was the youngest by far before Benjamin of all the other siblings. So there might not have been that much, but there was between him and his niece. But that being said, the idea for the rabbis to create this intricate story to highlight God's intervention in the story itself so it's enough, it's from our story, from chapter 37 to the end of Genesis, there's already a lot of coincidences that we know from the story are not coincidences. God makes it happen. The rabbis in the Midrash add even more events to the story to further emphasize God's role in history and the miraculous things that God will do. So by having the angel Michael appear to transport Osnat, to transport Dinah's daughter to Potiphar in Egypt as a miraculous placing of a baby girl into the home of Potiphar, to have her ready when Joseph comes down to marry her, adds to the sense of miracles that we're supposed to understand throughout this whole story. That from despair can arise greatness. That's what the story, one of the themes of the story, and that if we pray enough in our own lives, we can arise out of despair too. So from this little just parenthetical note, essentially, that Joseph was given a wife, her name being Osnat, the rabbis can't leave that alone, and they have to teach something from that and develop this rather nuanced multi-layers to the story. So we're told then in verse 46 on page 256 that Joseph was 30 years old when he's appointed second in command in Egypt. So we know then, remember that Joseph was 17 years old when we met him last week when he was sent to find the brothers. So 17 years old, so 13 years have passed when he becomes second in command in Egypt. And 7 more years are going to pass before he meets his brothers again, which happens in the rest. He doesn't reveal his identity yet. That will happen in next week's portion, but he plays games, and we don't have the time to get into the games that he plays for revenge, seemingly for revenge against his brothers. But so he's 30 when he's appointed. 7 more years happen, the 7 years of famine, so he's 37. So that means 20 years have passed since Joseph has last seen his brothers. Okay, so that's an idea of why his age is given here, so that we can have a sense of how many years have passed until he sees his brothers again. So I'm sorry about the Zoom technological issue today. Thank you for your patience and staying on and not despairing. Any thoughts or comments before we end for
Yeah,
today?
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead, Saul.
The chief steward was Potiphar, and
Yes.
who bought Joseph from the Ishmaelites, and then it was his wife that tried to lure Joseph, and he ended up in jail. And now we have a Potiphar,
All right.
who's a priest. Is there anything written about, are they related?
Yes, there is midrash that says that they're both one and the same, but it's clear from the Torah that they are not the same person. So so Potiphar. So here on 255 it says, see the comment to chapter 37 verse 36. That's last week's portion when we meet him, 37. Right. So that's where the Ishmaelites, Midianites sell Joseph to Potiphar, the courtier of Pharaoh. And the comment there, where is it? Potiphar. The name of Joseph's master is almost identical with that of his future father-in-law, Potiphar. This latter name has been explained as the Egyptian Pa-di-pa-re, meaning he whom Re, the sun god, has given. So that's all that Sarna suggests in the commentary, that they're similar in names, but they're not the same name. But again, there is midrash about this, that they're both one and the same. But we don't know. The Torah itself in this story does not say that they are the same person. Any
Jonah.
other? Yes, Joe.
Jonah,
Yes.
the names of the two sons of Joseph, Ephraim and Manasseh.
Yeah.
And then they give the derivation of the word.
Yes.
Okay, Ephraim, I understand, because Poria is flourish,
Right.
but I don't understand the connection to Lisnot or to Manasseh's name.
Yeah, it's about forgetting. Ki nashani Elohim et kol amali. That's 257 at the top of the page, verse 51 of chapter 41. Shem habachor Menashe ki nashani Elohim et kol amali, because God has made me forget completely my hardship. So it's the idea of forgetting. So yes, so Sarna says, he who causes to forget. So I'm not familiar with that word, to forget. So it's nun shin hey is the root. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not shin nun hey, to change or to teach. It's to forget, forget my suffering. That's what Menashe is supposed to signify. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So that apparently, according to the commentary, they are Hebrew names. They're not Egyptian names. So that also exemplifies for the rabbis Joseph's character. That he, even though he's called Sofnat Paneach, the Torah still calls him Joseph. And even though he marries a daughter of an Egyptian priestess, their two sons together will have Hebrew names, not Egyptian names. We're not told they're Egyptian names. We only have their Hebrew names, Ephraim and Manasseh.
Getting back to
Yes,
Potiphar.
Yeah,
One of them was a steward and the other one was a high priest. How can you
correct.
become a high priest from being a steward? I don't know.
Right, but again, the midrash can add to that. It's possible some courtiers in Pharaoh's court were priests at the same time. You know, you had priestly advisors. Don't know. It's midrash, so it's all the rabbis trying to again to connect the dots in the story. So there's a chance that we will not have class next Wednesday because, and as my parents are hearing this for the first time, so my daughters are going to be coming home for winter break from their teaching in New York City public schools. One wants to come home earlier than the other one does. We don't want her to come by bus or by train. So we thought maybe she could rent a car. So unless someone wants to donate $300 to rent a car for one day, a one-way trip, I may be driving up next Wednesday to New York to get her. So I will let you know for sure whether we will have class. If we don't have class next week, then we also will not be, and that's what I would have told you anyway, the following 2 weeks, the 30th and then January 7th, I'll be on vacation, so we won't be having class those 2 weeks. So I may see you, may not see you next Wednesday. And if not next Wednesday, then it will be January 14th will be the next time we will have our Wednesday class. So enjoy the rest of Hanukkah, everybody. Stay safe in the snow. I'm looking outside my window now. My grass is covered in snow, but the street looks like the street is just a little bit wet. So stay safe, everybody. Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.